Welcome to LSC. It's sports time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Larry Estep, former girls softball coach over at BETHEL High School. 24 years.
Long time. Thank you.
Man, but you have quite a past, and we're going to dig into it a little bit. But you didn't grow up in the Tidewater area. You grew up in Southwest Virginia.
That's right. Out in Bland County, and spent most of my years there on running around the mountains. And
do you have one leg shorter than the other?
No, most of the cows were, though. Most of the cows had one leg shorter.
Talk a little bit about, because you actually went to West Virginia to
Yes.
school, Bluefield High School.
I went to Bluefield High School and graduated from there. And
But while you were there, you played sports.
I played football and ran track and played baseball.
All right, now we're going to look at you, and we're going to assume you're about 100 pounds lighter. You were a sprinter.
When I was in high school, I weighed 137 pounds my first year. And when I graduated, I weighed 162, and I weigh a couple more pounds than that now. So.
Right, but you ran the 100, you ran the 220.
Yes.
Shortstop on the softball team.
Baseball.
Baseball team, but football you were running back.
A running back, yeah.
So you had a lot of experience growing up playing those three sports.
Yeah, well, back then, the schools were pretty small, so
right.
Everybody played multiple sports, and I think that's great.
Right, and while you were playing these sports and all, did you ever have any idea that you would coach?
No. Matter of fact, when I was first growing up, my ambition was to be a minister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does Kozlowski know about that?
He may. I don't know.
But anyway, so you played the sports through high school, and then you go to, was it Concord?
Went to Concord played football for a year, and then got hurt, and couldn't really pass the physical to play. Right. But I did pass physical in the Air Force, though.
But now, when you were at Concord, you played just football and? Just
played football and ran a little bit, but not a lot.
Right.
Mostly football.
So you went in the Air Force, and what was the thing that kind of drew you to the Air Force?
Well, I came home and I didn't have a job, and my dad asked me how I was going to pay the rent, and he gave me a month, and I didn't have any money to pay the rent, and he says, "I have a job for you." So, not being derogatory to any of the services, now he took me to the Marine recruiter, and he said he'll find a job for you. Well, I didn't like that idea very much. So it was during the Vietnam era.
Right. Yeah.
And so I went home with my dad and did what my dad wanted me to do. And I was defiant a little bit, but that Monday morning I ran into the Air Force recruiter's office and asked him if I could join the Air Force. And he said, "Well, let me check and see if we got any slots." I said, "Look, we got to have a slot. I've got to leave here by Wednesday." And he let me take the test, and he says, "Okay." I was on the bus on Wednesday going to San Antonio.
Did you do your physical and all before you left?
I did my physical up in Beckley, and flying colors.
So now you're going to the Air Force. What was your MOS? What was your job?
FSC. I started out as a loadmaster on aircraft, cargo aircraft, C-130s.
All right. Now, while you were there, you decided you got to watching some fast pitch softball games. And you end up being a pitcher. Take me through this, because you really that wasn't what you was going to do.
No, I was an infielder in softball, and when I first went in the service, I played at McGraw Air Force Base, played shortstop, then I went overseas, came back, came to Dover, and I piddled around with pitching while I was still a young guy in school and playing in playgrounds and stuff like that. And I went out and watched a softball game one afternoon, and when I was at Little Rock, and the guy said they had a pitcher, and the guy left. When I had a double header, and I've been pitching a little bit for intramural and stuff like that, but I wasn't really a guy I thought was going to be overpowering. And at the end of the first game, the pitcher left. So a friend of mine who played on the base team said, "Hey, all right, we need a pitcher." I said, "Man, I can't pitch against these guys. They're too good." So the coach called on and got me and said, "Oh, man, come on, you can help us out. We just need just somebody to throw a ball across the plate." I said, well, don't back everybody up. Don't get hurt. So we had a pretty good game. Matter of fact, we won the ball game.
How about that?
Yeah, because I couldn't throw fast enough for them to hit it, I guess. So. But
did you have a lot of junk on your ball?
I threw a little drop, a little rise ball, a little curve ball every now and then.
Right.
And the velocity was a little bit up, but not according to a lot of guys,
Right.
So we won that game, and next thing I know, I had a job. He wanted me to come back and pitch every week for him. So that's how I got
But he
into
wanted
pitching.
somebody who was going to be there, didn't
He
he?
wanted somebody to be there every week, So yeah, I ended up being there.
Now, I'm going to jump a little bit, but pitching in the through the Air Force, did that help you when you went over to Bethel High School as a softball coach?
Yeah, because I played softball all the years I was in the service, and a lot of experience. I played with a lot of good ball players, had a lot of good coaches, and had a lot of experience with what the game was all about.
Right.
So
now, when you're in the Air Force, you're moving around a lot, and every base you go to or end up at, you end up playing softball.
I ended up playing softball, and after Little Rock, I ended up being a pitcher. Matter of fact, when I was in Athens, we won the youth safety championship, and a guy, when I first got there, he says, asked me if I pitched. It was a Christmas party. He said, "You pitch?" I said, "Yeah, I pitch a little bit." I said, he said, "You're gonna pitch for the base team?" I says, "Well, I'm gonna try out for it." He said, "Well, you won't win any ball games." I said, "Really?"
So you end up winning the
So I said,
championship.
"What makes you think I can?" He says, "I'll bet you $100 y'all don't win a ball game." I said, "Not a betting man, but you're on." So we ended up not winning. We win the mid championship plus the youth safety championship, and he still hadn't paid me $100.
But you made him eat his words anyway. Now, while you're moving all over the place, you're still working and end up getting your degree.
Yes.
Now, who'd you end up getting your degree?
I ended up getting my final certification from Christopher Newport College.
Right. But while you were in the
I went
Air
to
Force,
University of Maryland, and
And so you, in your mind, you knew that there was something you might do after you got out of the service?
Well, I'm sure there's. First of all, I wanted to be if you don't know. First of all, I was going to be an accountant. And,
okay.
So first accounting class I took it, I got an assignment, and the professor says, "I'm going to give you 3 problems." Well, he did. He gave us 3 problems. It took me a whole week to do the 3 problems. I said, "I don't think this is for me." So I
change
my track or my career. So.
All right. Then you retire, but you end up at Langley. That's why you end up here.
At Langley.
But at Langley, you end up going over and playing against Fox Hill.
We played at Fox Hill a few times, yeah. Not against Adam.
They had a pretty good team.
They had a real good team when I got here in the
But and it's unusual to have that good a team with all homegrown people for the most part.
They had a lot of good athletes, They worked them in there real good.
Right. So after you retire, then you had to get your certification through, so you could teach through Christopher Newport.
Yes.
And your first job is where?
Lindsay Middle School.
But yet you end up with the job over at Bethel High School.
Yeah, that was a pretty good deal. They needed a softball coach, and Cos hired me as a football coach, and they also need a wrestling coach, and I guess they want the wrestling coach in the building. So we made a little deal that I would go to Lindsay, he'd go to Bethel. So.
Oh, so that's how you end up at Lindsay, but you end up with helping Cos and then with the girls softball team. Now, while you're coaching the girls over there, you and Wade Trainham would have a kind of get together when you guys played. You sounded like you were mad at each other.
Well, yeah, we used to get back and forth with one another, and usually on new umpires, and sometimes they just call time and tell us, "Guys, y'all got to cut this out. Y'all can't be arguing back and forth and creating situations in the game." They thought we was going to, I think, fight sometimes. But if anybody knows Wade, you know that it's a pretty good deal with Wade. He's did a real good job with his people.
Well, now let's talk a little bit about some of the players that you had come through your system, because you had some real good players. You've had some good teams end up in the regionals. Who's one of the first that comes to mind?
Well, first year I was at Bethel, I had a lot of ball players, but not a lot of real good athletes. But I had one, Kirsten McVickers. She played shortstop for me or third base or whatever, and she ended up going to Hampton University. Real good ball player. Had Joanne Andrews, who pitched for us, and set a lot of records at Bethel High School. We went to the state quarterfinals with her and got beat 2-1 by Varina, which eventually went on and won the state championship.
And you lost 2-1 to that game.
Yeah. And of course, I've had Maggie Wolf. Maggie Wolf ended up batting about 700 during her career. She went to Hampton University, played at Hampton University. She was the in-between coach for when they had a situation with their the coach over there, Tiny, and she led that conference in all everything.
Right.
And then had another player went to my softball coach, it's JV coach. She went to Winston-Salem, and she played out there, played first base out there for them. They won the conference championship out there. So we've had a lot of good ball players, and not only good ball players, but good students.
Right.
Jenna Ryan most recently played softball for me, a good little ball player, pitched. She ended up going to Virginia Tech, and she's going to be a doctor, I think. And
well, that kind of makes you feel good to look back and see what kind of the positive effect you had on some of your ball players, doesn't it? When they come back, they still call you coach.
They still call me coach. And matter of fact, I just got a card in the mail from a young lady, Stephanie Boyd, who was valedictorian in the class. And she went down to Texas A&M, and she's a vet now. She's in the Army. And I think she's a colonel, lieutenant colonel in the Army. And she just sent me a card and from a retirement, congratulating on retirement. And she's hoping her daughter gets to be someone like me. But I got on Facebook and told her, I says, please don't wish that on your daughter.
Now, during this time, not only softball, but then you're coaching with legendary coach,
yes, sir,
Kozlowski.
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about, because you didn't meet him until you got in this system, right?
Well, not really. Koz lived right across the street from me when I lived in Pocosin.
Oh, I didn't know you were that close to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I started talking. I talked to him back and forth, and I learned a lot of football from Koz. Koz knew football.
Right. But you had he had some pretty good success.
He sure did, yes, sir.
And he'll be the first to tell you that a lot of it because of the assistant coaches that he had. Bouchard with him for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah.
You were with him for a long time.
Yeah, quite a while.
Until he left. Then you, when he left, you ended up going over to Tab and working with Charlie Hovis.
Yes.
All right.
That's good. I had some good experiences with two of the greatest coaches probably in this area.
Yeah. There was a picture of Charlie in the paper the other day with working with his granddaughter. He's still working.
Yeah, he is.
So anyway, so now you're doing all this and what, 20, how many years?
24 years.
24 years. And you said want to retire for the second time.
Yeah, I'm semi-retired.
Well, you told me 2 years ago that you weren't going to retire. You kept saying, no, I'm not going to retire. This is too much fun.
Well, I was having fun.
Well, you had to have fun because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it for 24 years.
I've got my grandkids now, and they're starting to play ball and stuff of this nature. And,
right.
And I'm just turned 45, and and I'm.
You just turned 45.
Yeah, turned 45.
Wait a second. 21 years in the Air Force, 24 at Bethel. That's 45. Yeah. You started right when you were.
When I was born, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do they do that in West Virginia?
That's the way we count West Virginia.
Okay. Okay, we're going to kind of wrap this up. I appreciate you coming in. But I want to talk a little bit about why you had deemed the education was so important that you continued to do that through the Air Force. And if you were to talk to youngsters today, how important education is.
Well, I go back, I grew up in Southwest Virginia. And one of the things that they always had a problem with is we were uneducated. And I thought, well, English teacher.
Right.
And she told me, said, don't ever let anybody take an opportunity for you to get education. Education is something no one can ever take away from you.
That's right.
And she said, no matter what you play, and she was a big advocate of athletics. But she said, no matter how, you can't play ball all your life. You've got to have something to fall back on. And and I was always driven to go to school and do things and get an education.
Right.
We grew up in the coal fields area, and there wasn't a whole lot there. And without education, you wasn't going anywhere.
Right. If you didn't go to school, you'd be in the coal
Right.
fields, coal mines.
And I wasn't going to the coal mines.
Yeah. Well, it made your hair black. If you go there.
Well, I didn't think about that.
Well, one other thing. How about talking about a couple of your seasons that you ended up, especially the one you ended up in the state? Can you talk a little bit about that season? What year was that?
That was 1992, I think.
Okay.
And we had a real good season, and I guess the best part about it, we went in the regional tournament, and it's been a long time since anybody had been over there.
Right.
And a coach from Bayside, he made a statement before the game. He says, "This will be y'all's last game today." I said, "Okay, thank you, sir. We're just glad we got to play." Of course, we beat him. And he didn't speak to me for a long time after that.
He wouldn't.
And we went and played Western Branch, and we came out on a short stick, but we had the second seed in the regionals, and we went to the quarterfinals.
Right.
Had Joanne Andrews, and had Kelly Jarrell, who's now up in charge of guidance up in Pennsylvania somewhere, and she was a real good ball player for us. And we had a good year that year. Had some good kids, hard-working kids. They wasn't really
Right.
a lot of super athletes except for probably Joanne, but the rest of the kids were all behind her, and we all played as a team. So, and they're all dedicated kids in school.
Right.
So,
Well, that makes it good. Well, I appreciate you coming in.
thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Larry Estep. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Until next time.